Hey guys, it's Matt. If you could hold back maybe 10 minutes from commenting because your comments are going to be extremely important in deciding this question. The topic for today is what do they know? What do they know regarding, we say, well, their technology is 50 years advanced or 100 years advanced, or they're holding this back, or Matt, they know how to do this. They're just not sharing it with us. I personally, I'll just tell you right off the bat, I believe they know a ton. We are starting to put the pieces together based on nothing but talking amongst ourselves. Or, Rudy, who has a tiny little channel sharing information with me, he blogs back with people he met on the Uncanny Deduction channel. We are starting to put the pieces together, and we're mostly right. Now, we have a lot of gaps that need to be filled in, but we're starting to get a picture as to how this reality works. And what do we have access to? $400 million electron microscopes, telescopes that try. We don't have access to shit, and we're getting close. They know basically what's going on at the very small. In my opinion, they know what they call nebulas and whatever's out there. They know at this point what it's all about. And to me, this is what we'll get into this later, but the Department of Homeland Security, what's that? Think what do they really do? All right. Oh, is it Matt? But that's about the T-ism threat. Oh, sure. What is it, like 20,000 people just sitting around doing nothing because there is no T-ism threat? What? Oh, $1 billion agency. Okay, some of them are working on this and they're ports and shipping ports, and they don't want any toxic, fake dog crap coming in on boats. And okay, whatever. But you know what? In my opinion, think about it. What this huge agency was created. Partially what they're doing, if you ask me. There's a lot of discoveries, a lot of scientific research in large universities, for example, a lot of other places. But let's say there's a real breakthrough as to how something works. Do you think that they're just going right out to Action News and Action News is going to tell everybody? No, probably they get a visit from the department and they says, we're going to keep this information on how reality works classified, and the people in the university, whatever they discovered, will go along with it in the case of national security because they don't want China to get the information, and they'll believe all that stuff when it's a one pause world system. Think about it. Think about it, man. Think about it. Tell me the breakthroughs that have come out of major universities. I mean, real breakthroughs that change lives. Crickets, nothing. No, there's been a lot. It's just Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones come in, the Men in Black, and we're gonna nationalize or classify this project. And for your troubles, here is a $180 million grant or $1 billion, whatever. Is this what the Department of Homeland Security does? Either way, guys, we dabble. I think, is it TJ? I apologize to TJ if he made another screen diagram for us. What's on this is very much like the screen diagram that we've looked at before, and hopefully you're not trying to zoom in. What's on screen now is really not critical to what we're talking about today. I wanted to put this image up, and maybe we will try to tie it in if I can a little bit later. So the topic for the comments, and as we move forward here, is what do they know? You could put it in terms of we usually in this truth community put it in terms of the number of years. So their technology is 50 years ahead of time or 100 years ahead of time. Or Matt, what's really out there, what is called space, they know exactly what that is. Or they say they struggle with the quantum or the string theory or what is on the other side of a quark, and they know exactly what's happening that builds this reality. And Matt, they know how important we are as the generator real beings here, how important we are to the reality itself. So you might, I don't want to, you might put it in those terms as you comment. But again, what do they know? And if you want to put it in the terms of, what is it, Benicio or whatever is Del Toro, his character in Snatch, he said, Bobby, what do you know? The guy sitting up on the hill in the right stuff, he said, he know the moon, he know the star, he know the Milky Way, he'll help you out. You do that too? You fly overhead? See, the guy should have come off the hill, that Aborigine chieftain, the elder, should have said, this is bullshit. This guy ain't flying anywhere. He didn't even know. You're going to be talking to someone on the radio that's at an amusement park somewhere. Nobody flying overhead. This guy knows the moon. He knows the star. He knows the Milky Way. He knows fake NASA. All right, back on point. Based on nothing but talking amongst ourselves, we know, little old us, we know that reality is a reflection of the real people here. We know that real spiritual beings are a necessary element in what you call reality. We know it doesn't exist. Who knows what would be there without us? Just this foggy mess, like what comes under the Golden Gate Bridge at 5 o'clock. Who knows what would be here? It needs us. Now, we know that. And what do we have to work with? By the way, if any creeps listening to this, we got no insider information. I didn't get no Mr. Beeks trying to give me a package in the orange section. We put all this shit together, one, by observing the actions of the creeps, and two, by just sharing information amongst ourselves and using our power of intuition and imagination and inner knowing. So we didn't break no rules here. We're allowed to discuss this. I didn't get no package from Mr. Beeks in the orange section. So do I have to beg permission to continue to talk about this? If we hit on something, then you should have covered it up better. I think we generally understand the basics. Based on that, how much do you think they know? Holy shit, they know a lot. What space really is, as you go out, in my opinion, they know what it is. What happens at the very small, whatever CERN is used for is not really what they'll tell us it's used for. They know what's going on at the very small. And I think that the most important part of this is they know the role, or have a decent sense as to the role that real people play in helping to solidify or generate reality. And years ago, we talked about it floats a blurry image and a blurry idea, and then it works hard via sending out its minions, like sending out the horde in Wargame through the portal. It works hard to get those real people to believe in a certain thing, and that those people then act as a certain ingredient to harden the cement on reality itself. So I think they know exactly what's going on at the, quote, quantum level and how real people are involved in that. It's obvious they know because look how successful they've been with the masses. Sure, we're this little group of malcontents that try to poke through everything. And, what do they call us? The anomaly? Is that what you, creeps, do you call us the anomaly or like Neo or what? Who knows why we are in this little group considered to be crazy? But look how successful, I hate to say it, but they've been in moving populations into completely insane areas. We just dabble in these concepts. Like I've said years ago, we live inside a gigantic Mandela effect. Okay? The Mandela effect has been trivialized partially by the creeps so you don't see what it really is. They get a bunch of channels talking about Kit Kat dashes. And that's trivial nonsense. And who cares if the name was a vampire or the vampire? Of course, they trivialize it. It actually is, it's a window into how reality itself works. It's very similar to the Ship of Fools. As I've said before, and I haven't talked about this for months, we need to remind ourselves of this. If you look around the world and say that I don't recognize what exists here, how could they possibly introduce certain choices and lifestyles that were taboo just 20 years ago? Now it's heralded as the greatest thing of all time. If you're a certain thing or present yourself as a certain thing, 20 years ago you had to just be real quiet. Now it's the greatest thing of all time. How could they? No real world could do that. And I think that's still accurate, me saying that, because if you're pushing the exact buttons and pulling the exact levers and massaging, knowing exactly how reality works, then I think that's still valid. No real world can do that. They're pushing exactly against the areas to massage reality to the place where they want it to go. So the whole world is a Mandela effect. It's been trivialized. Interview with a vampire, the vampire. But that's what we're talking about here. It's just a man. This is just a Mandela effect video, and for the next hour, we're going to be talking about Kit Kat dashes. That's trivial. If you look, like I said, if you look around the world and you don't recognize it, guess what? You're Mandela affected. You don't need to remember no different movie lines. You don't need to remember we going to need a bigger boat or horse shit like that. If you don't recognize what is going on in the world and you feel completely out of place and it has become alien to you, the same concept as the ship of fools sailing away and everybody on the ship of fools goes along with it, they're not just brainwashed to go along with it. It's a function of reality itself. They are merging with it. Reality shifts, certain things change, certain things are fluid, certain things morph, and the people in the ship of fools are morphing and going along with it. It's not just mind control. It's not the first great explanations we've been given. They're melting or melding with the reality as it sails in the ship of fools. You are not. That's why everything looks so strange. This is no different than the Mandela effect, in my opinion. I'll talk about it again because it's been about a year or a year and a half since I've mentioned it. I'll be very brief if you heard me tell this story 4 times over the years. I saw my friend Tony get a download regarding a Mandela effect conversation. But the point is here, I think that conversation could have been about anything. He will sync up with the reality on anything. It's not just about Kit Kat dashes. This was particularly about the Mandela effect. 30 seconds or less. He gave all the answers you could say we would want him to give. Of course, Matt, I remember that. We're going to need a bigger boat. And then he knew it was like he got a download. He said, well, Matt's a conspiracy person, and he's talking to me about this new big conspiracy. And then he paused, and then he changed all his answers. No, I was wrong, Matt. It's life was like a box of chocolate. All that horseshit movie line stuff we asked him. He got it all, quote, right, and then he changed his answers to match the current reality. This is the download. It's not just about the Mandela effect. The download is about accepting the norm of reality in every area. But it literally, reality overwrote him. I don't know if you could say it overwrote his consciousness, his whole physical being. It's like, I was talking to Greg the other day, it's kind of like the angel of death. You put we have like the surrounded, it's like invisible lamb's blood all around us, and reality continuously overwriting ourselves. I think a lot of things changed, and we actually go along with the changes as well. Just because you have anchor effects and certain Mandela effects, you remember what was before it changed. That doesn't mean that there's not 100 changes a day, that we just don't have armor, and we would probably go insane. It's good we go along with the changes that happen in a fluid reality. But for certain things, what we call Mandela effects, it's like we have this, in the ether is a lamb's blood all over us, and it just, the angel of death is a rewrite of reality. It just went around us. I know 100% that movie is called Interview with a Vampire. Remember looking it up I was going to say the TV guide, like how old am I? But, like I seeing it in the guide. I mean, I'm 100% sure that's an anchor effect for me. So the lamb's blood, the reality cannot overwrite me. It might have tried, and it said, I can't overwrite this son of a bitch. It just goes around us. And Tony didn't paint the lamb's blood. So to summarize the incident with Tony, he changed all his answers, and then once he had changed them all and the overwrite came, he's now completely in sync with the new reality. Last reminder, it's not just about movie lines. If certain things in this society, culture, all the things we're frustrated with, all the things that make no sense, how come your aunt's not complaining about this or your sister's not upset about that? It's all a Mandela effect because you are off the ship of fools. It's not just about movie lines. I'm off the ship of fools. It's sailing, and it's not like they're just going along with it because they're mind controlled. They're literally merging with the new reality, the way Tony took the download. Somebody else could take the download and it's just completely normal that in in this reality, in 15 to 20 years, certain lifestyles that were taboo or challenging, it's the great celebrated as the greatest thing of all time. Somebody said, "Well, that makes perfect sense, Matt. Things change in the world." See, how quickly it was done is so alien to us, so foreign. It's not just mind control. Look, this isn't a great analogy, but in Star Trek, they had this thing called the barium sweep, if I'm remembering correctly. And it was to take out every little parasite, every little germ. The whole crew had to evacuate. And this line of laser beams or something just slowly goes through the ship, killing every microbe, every germ. And of course, if you're still on the ship and this barium sweep comes through, which takes an hour from one end of the ship to the end. Matt, that's port to stern. I don't know what that means. So I guess somebody got trapped on, or what? I don't. What doesn't matter. So the barium sweep, that's like the reality, in my opinion, with the Mandela effect, but in hundreds of different areas, in lifestyle choices or politics. It's not just about movie lines. So the barium sweep comes, it just goes right around us. And again, if you don't see the movie line changes, you see how alien the world is. We're all, in this way, we're all Mandela affected. It's absolutely related, in my opinion. I don't know why it goes around you or us, or who knows? People, well, it's blood type, or it doesn't. We'll never figure it out. It doesn't matter. Maybe it's an old soul that's ready to graduate. Now, for Tony, the barium sweep just goes right through him. He didn't paint the lamb's blood. He's reset to the new reality. It's no different between like the movie line conversation I'm having with Tony, and 2 months ago we're talking about V'ger. Or it's supposedly that real thing is on the other side of the Oort, the Mork from Oort cloud, and it's still sending back its little signals, beep 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 beep. And to Tony, he's not crazy. We're crazy. He's not crazy. He's merged with a reality where it's completely normal that, well, Matt, why wouldn't it be sending back signals? Well, you know how far away it is, and it was completely normal to him. I don't think it's a mind control. I think it's normal in this reality that the V'ger is still, it's not normal to us because it wasn't normal in our old reality that in some way we are still attached to or holding on to or have roots in. So I think the conversation I had with Tony about the Coke, it's the real thing, Voyager, V'ger, is no different than me telling him about movie lines and the Mandela effect. But the one difference is in terms of what NASA presents, for example, he's merged with that part of reality a long time ago, completely on board, where the Mandela effect concept was completely new, and the barium sweep hadn't gotten to him yet for reality barium sweep. So it's completely new, and it's almost like if you make noise to a sentinel in the Matrix. There's sentinels and everyone's quiet, but somebody knocks over a damn tin coffee cup or mug or something. The sentinel puts its head up and sends out its those little dishes, and it gets there, and then they start coming for you. Whatever the reality is here, that sentinels, Tony escaped it, but then as soon as he starts talking to me about it and saying, "Oh yeah, of course, Matt, it's if you build it, they will come." It got that part of reality, Tony got its attention very, very quickly. And it was, I don't know, about a minute and a half before he paused paused for a few seconds. And I said to Chris, look, he just took a download. Did you see what just happened? He changed all his answers. He popped his head up out of the water, and the Matrix noticed what was going on and overrode him like the smoke of the angel of death coming by the damn doors. That's how it works. Greg and I talked about it the other day. It's like the barium sweep. Greg and I were talking about his experience with the Wizard of Oz. And 45 seconds or less, I've told this story before. It's one of the most amazing Mandela effect experiences or testimonials of all time. and I'm not even getting exactly right, but somehow he hears about the Mandela effect, where the scarecrow with the gun, and they're going to the witch's castle, and the bug sprayer, the pipe wrench, and the net, and all the stuff that they have, and people don't remember them having. Well, he's like, well, I have an old version of the Wizard of Oz, because he loves Pink Floyd, and he set the Wizard of Oz to the dark side of the moon to make it the dark side of the rainbow. So this Mandela effect was relatively new for whatever reason. He's like, let me see what my old VCR tape of Dark Side of the Rainbow shows. Like, these were the days when we thought like ours could be different. And, every time anybody's ever talked about the Mandela effect where they quote a passage in the King James Bible, every single time, not that I've read a lot of that Bible, but when it doesn't sound right to me, every single time I've gone to my old grandmother's King James Bible, of course, it's exactly what the person says. But Greg had a different experience where he went, let's say, in the example about the dark side of the rainbow, he went to say, or I went to pull out my old grandmother's King James Bible, and it would be like the lion lays with the lamb, and then right in front of his eyes, it would change over to the wolf. That's what happened with Greg with Dark Side of the Moon or Dark Side of the Rainbow in The Wizard of Oz. So he pulls it out, and something happened where he puts it in, and or maybe it was a file on his computer. I forget. I think it was actually a VCR tape, and it shows no gun, no pipe wrench. They're going to the witch's castle because the wizard sent them to retrieve the broom, I guess it is. And it's just the way kind of people remember it. They don't have any of those items. And he's like, what? This is supposed to be changed, or I saw it over here. And he, in his mind, is like expecting it to be changed because he'd already seen a screenshot somewhere else. Anyway, he looked away and looked back 1 second later. And they all had, as he looked back, they had the gun, the pipe wrench, the net, the bug sprayer. It changed literally in a second right before his eyes. So we're talking about, by the way, this is 100%, this testimony from Greg, I'd stake my life on it. There's nobody I trust more, okay? This what the hell? I can't talk. This absolutely happened. Okay, Matt, maybe it doesn't want you talking about this. Maybe not. So what the most fascinating thing to Greg and I is, just like the barium sweep or the angel of death, the digital angel of death, we thought, well, why didn't your old VCR tape change like everything else changed? People ran up into their attic and like, oh, here's an old VHS of The Wizard of Oz that we haven't looked at for 20 years, and they popped it in. And of course, what did they find? Of course, the pipe wrench was there and the gun. And, these experiences what Greg had is very rare. So we thought it's like that barium sweep. The digital angel of death came by and passed over his VCR tape. Why would it pass over? Why didn't it recognize? First off, he didn't have it labeled The Wizard of Oz. It was called something, the dark side of the rainbow, or he might not even have had that. This bot or this digital sense that's taking over our reality in some ways, not stupid. It would recognize the dark side of the rainbow, and it would make that change. I don't think he had it labeled at all. And of course, there's music, Pink Floyd music, set to the imagery. There's no Dorothy talking. It was passed over in some way. This is the best explanation as to what happened. And it absolutely happened to Greg. Okay, I would put it at 100%. It passed it over like the digital angel of death. And then once it was like the sentinels that stopped, put the damn dish up. Uh-oh, we missed something. Once Greg, through consciousness, in some way alerted the reality that this is the most incredible residual that exists of all time, the reality says, well, we if it had a conversation amongst its digital self, maybe it in just a millisecond had a conversation amongst itself, the chat GPT, the stable diffusion, in just a millisecond, all this conversation took place. Look, we're going to have to change it in front of his eyes. We can't have this degree of residual remain. I don't think it had a conversation like this. So it's like, well, he's going to notice. We got no choice. We fucked up. We got to just change it in front of his eyes. Well, then he'll talk. I will say he's crazy. It had to change it. It couldn't allow that degree of residual, so Greg could then parade around South Carolina with a version of The Wizard of Oz that doesn't exist in reality itself. It had to change it. In terms of who we are, whatever, are we the anomaly? Why is it certain of us that can see? They knew we were coming. The stupid they live, where the old woman says, I've got one that can see. That they live, they knew they would have one that can see. They knew there was going to be a subset of us that can see through all this. They knew we were coming. In the Matrix, they knew Neo was coming. He's the sixth iteration of the anomaly. They knew it was coming, and they used, it was all set up the whole time to Neo to carry the code that the Matrix needed to help itself. Morpheus, Trinity, all used. The Oracle wasn't on anybody's side of Morpheus. The Oracle was on the side of the architect to use love and use human emotions and vices. And it was all a big setup. So they saw us coming, just like the architect knew that Neo was coming. And then they spent, and they did many things to play us, but they spent 20 years so we would belittle ourselves amongst our friends and family. This is what mistakes on purpose are for. They understand the nature of reality, like this whole, get back to the purpose of this video. What do they know? The Goldilocks of this reality is unnatural. It can't always be playing right down the middle. They know why it works like this, and they can, through reality buttons and levers, they create certain situations where we will see something, sometimes with mistakes on purpose. They'll say, let's get all these sons of bitches talking about this. They'll see it all as cake in a lake bullshit. But we know, they'll know, because the whole premise of this video is, what do they know? Bobby, what do you know? They know a lot, and they knew we'd sink ourselves in terms of when we went to talk to our friends and family about it. They knew our friends and family, in terms of whatever evidence was out there, was Goldilocks, that we'd see it one way, the reality would see it, where everybody linked up with the way reality is going on the ship of fools would see it another way. Well, Matt, if you and me, we don't merge with reality, we don't blend into a fluid reality, we're not on the ship of fools, and your friend like Tony and my Aunt Ginny does, then why did they have to do all this? And maybe just in case, in case we could make a breakthrough. We already had been so belittled and made to be crazy that it doesn't matter. We cried wolf so many times that if we ever hit on something legitimate, we're not to be believed. They've been expert at making us the boy, girl, real boy, Pinocchio, real girl, Pinocchio that cried wolf. And what a coincidence. The wolf shall lay with the lamb. And somehow, this is another weird thing about reality. I have a book where it was the original notebook that formed the basis on the now 700 and some page book that I give out to anybody that wants it in PDF, which is just basically a cataloging of the fraud, but then try to summarize the last 150 pages as to how everything works here. Doing a much better job summarizing it for the new book now, because we've learned so much over the past 3 years. I know for sure, and I would have gone out of my way, that working with other Mandela-affected people, quote we, but mostly others, not me. I'm no expert at the King James Version. Others put down exactly what is it? Isaiah 11:6, is it? The wolf shall dwell with the lamb, or which everybody that's Mandela effect remembers. The lion shall lay with the lamb. The bear shall eat grass. I mean, we put the whole passage, the whole thing was. I wrote it down in this book, and I remember doing it. And I went to find it because I knew it was, at the end, and the little child shall lead them. Something should play on the hole of the asp. I'm confused now. I'm blending the new with the old. I know I wrote it down, and I went through every page of this notebook, and it wasn't there. Matt, are you saying it just disappeared? It might have. I don't want to be too out there. Oh, Matt, I was listening to you as an intelligent human being, and you come up with this horse shit. I'm telling you, I remember clearly trying to preserve what the original was. And it does make sense that reality would work to wipe it out. It doesn't love these sorts of residuals. The residuals tend to go away over time. Some still exist. Some always will exist, especially if we've seen them in our community and made them famous, like the woman on one knee bending down in front of the thinker, there were so many of those pictures of the thinker putting the fist up to the forehead instead of underneath the chin. And I think it does work to get rid of these types of residuals. But see, we also help to lock it in. So many tens of thousands of us, when discussing the Mandela effect of the thinker, saw the woman bending down. Many of you can picture it now. I think she was an Asian woman. That's not going to change because too many of us saw it. Too many of us cemented it in. It is important to cement in the residuals. But me just writing down what Isaiah 11:6 is, it's gone, and it is possible. It just disappeared. But it doesn't matter. I know for sure. I mean, and how much of the Bible have I read? I mean, my whole life I've heard about the lion and the lamb, and people that knew it cold when we were talking about this. It was 2016 when all this hit very hard. People put it together, and the bear shall eat grass, and I don't know. I think that and the little child shall lead them is there now, but it was different animals, not the fatling It was totally different. Isaiah 11:6, and the main residuals, people that have painted, of course, the lion and the lamb together, or the Lancaster Playhouse and Theater, that I don't know if it's still there. Reality would hate this sort of residual. Big sculpture of the lion with the lamb outside. What's this for? I mean, there's no reason for it if that line wasn't. Of course, it was the lion lays with the lamb. That's like so. It's like 100%. And if that line in the Bible changed, well, any line can change. Matthew 7 something. Judge not lest ye be judged. Mandela effect community looked at it, said, judge not lest ye be judged. Makes sense. Don't judge or you'll be judged. Now, the change, judge not lest ye be not judged. Two nots that close together, some double negative. Judge not lest ye be not judged. Okay. Then there was another change. The lest, but very important part of that, as people remember, is just gone. Judge not that. Judge not that ye. No, is there any ye? Yeah. Judge that ye be not judged. So the lest is gone. Judge not lest. What? No, I'm confused. Matt, you're flip-flopping between realities. You're going to go mad if you don't get your act together in a few seconds. Judge not that ye be not judged. So lest becomes that. I mean, it's shit is, the whole reality is like this, folks. It's all fluid. But getting back to the main purpose of this presentation, sorry to stray so long into that, however we understand how it works now, remember it's what do they know? They know how this shit works. They know the moon. It's like they're just like that guy up on the hill with the Aborigine. They know the moon. They know the stars. They know their astrology. They know their gematria. They know the Milky Way. They know what it is. They know how to present it as fake. They understand they're very small. They know how CERN manipulate. They know. And when there's a major breakthrough in university level or something else, I think they got, is that what the Department of Homeland Security is for? They come in and it never makes the New England Journal of Medicine. It never makes the Action News. It's nationalized and classified, and all these universities doing all this research in all these different areas. What are they doing? I mean, where are the breakthrough discoveries? Look, I don't have my ear to the ground there. I'm sure there's a lot of things, but what I'm saying is, I assure you, what Gus is saying here is, I assure you, the 2 or 3 or 4 major breakthroughs that potentially relate or could enlighten people as to how reality itself works, or that could lead to something that would permanently change society and culture, that stuff gets a Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith pen visit, perhaps. The big stuff. I know there's a lot of stuff. Again, I don't keep up with these trade journals and all that. I'm sure a bunch of horse shit that takes technology to the next level, or how to put more chips on the end of a pinhead, all that bullshit, whatever. Okay, fine. The universities are involved in that, and how to get rid of radioactive waste from 3 Mile Island or the Limerick power plant down here. Okay, fine. But I'm saying, boy, that once or twice a year, major league breakthroughs, those men in black will come in my opinion. But see, there's so many breakthroughs. They collectively have all this information. They know how the real human is necessary as a reality generator being to cement in the reality they want. Plus, potentially, many smart people in our community believe they carry the ancient knowledge. Ain't no library of Alexandria that burnt down. That's just a way of saying that, yeah, they took the knowledge for themselves and carried it forward. And you got people like Tony come along and say the different type of incarnation, the George Bush creature. It's a sequential incarnation that they actually remember past lives and carry the ancient knowledge forward. They're not willing to take the plunge, according to Tony, that you have or that I have. Coming in here, Tommy, the deaf, dumb, and blind kid that doesn't have any understanding of who he or she was before birth, or no understanding of really what happens after death. The biggest plunge is, according to Tony, is what we're doing now. These George Bush creatures is a different type of entity. And in addition to all the breakthroughs and all the research grants and all the stuff the universities are popping out in terms of pushing the technology forward, that they just cut it off and keep it quiet and nationalize it, they potentially have all the old or ancient information. So, I mean, you want to talk about having a foe that's particularly difficult to go up against, considering the situation that we're in. This doesn't concern me, though, because it's still there's an email from Frank that came in, and why is it Matt? Frank's like, every time I email you, Matt, you talk about my email. And I gave him a big worry about yourself speech. Frank's like, well, what if we put collective consciousness together and we focus on this and that? Call it selfish if you want. Call it. I am not at this point. I mean, Matt, you're talking like you're 85. I'm not out to change reality, and so we can all sing the Kumbaya and we can all have the utopian existence that Star Trek has, and Picard talks about it. We developed into a society where people just pursue what they want, and if somebody wants to paint, they don't have to worry about money anymore, and they can paint. I'm here to worry my own spiritual journey, worry about myself, worry about yourself. I'm not here to fix. And if I believed it was easily fixed, if we just got 500 or 5,000 real spiritual beings together and we joined hands and sang the Kumbaya around a campfire and we could overwrite reality like a barium sweep, then I'd go do that. If we knew exactly what to do and it was that easy, sure, I'd like a better society out my window. But we don't know what to do. Our foe is formidable, but our foe is a necessary role player in this reality system. They are playing a necessary role. Whoever built this reality knew it needed assholes. Star Wars needs a Darth Vader, right? What if Star Wars, you went to see it? Well, I heard this was good. And it's just like daily life on Tatooine or whatever that desert planet was. And here's Luke coming around the corner carrying water and hay. And like, well, when's something going to happen? Nothing happens. Just people carrying bales of hay around Tatooine, and maybe some aliens ride by, and the droids are pulling their hay via ropes and strings. And what's this? There's no bad guy. Star Wars needed Darth Vader. This reality needs assholes. This reality needs 1 billion. It needs somebody like that to go up on a green screen and to pour a glass of champagne on a green screen while they're floating around in a studio somewhere and they're trying to pass that off as a Bradford White water heater. This reality needs those assholes. We need the whole experience. I'll say it again, and I'll be kind to anybody that's under a certain age listening to this. If it was just about lying under fruit trees with a big jar of lube, we wouldn't get anything out of it. Worry about yourself is not selfish. That's what you're here to do. You're on an individual spiritual journey. You're not here to fix anything or to send the Anthony Wieners off to jail. If somebody could convince me that if 80%, 90%, a good percentage of the real spiritual generator beings here literally found a way to shut down their attention and focus on the creeps. And then it was like that old analogy: if we put our rifles up above the fireplace, and we Elmer Fudd And we didn't hunt anymore. We didn't look into anything anymore. We didn't give our attention to the screen. And then the rabbits would be, what was the old analogy we used? Where the rabbit itself would be jumping up on your lap. It would be so desperate to be hunted. If all of us could do that and literally just dissolve it some way, I'd be into that. But here's the problem. Here's the problem. I believe there are millions or even a billion or more. We don't know how many people here are real or NPCs, but there are a lot of real people who are falling for it. It's not like only the real people can see and everybody else here is an NPC. Well, maybe, but this is just my personal opinion. My personal opinion is down at the corporate center down here, and they believe every bit of the news, and they just can't wait to lease the next Audi 600 or whatever. They're totally Matrix children, because I was one myself, and most of you have been Matrix children. There's a lot of real people that are fully engaged in this Matrix. So if we could get everybody with every channel to just literally withdraw, there's still so many millions or tens of millions or hundreds of millions or a billion real people that I don't think it would have the effect we would want it to have. Maybe we'd start creating gigantic and bizarro Mandela effects. I don't know. But if you may disagree, you might say, Matt, no, the real people are at least in the truth community. Well, that's a problem in and of itself, because how many people in the truth community are still trying to, just research what happened in the mall last week? They're not where we are anyway. They're not going to sit around and hold hands around a campfire, understanding they're real reality generators. Even our own community that sees through the ruse isn't going to be where we are. So what effect is it? Again, it's not selfish. If you think it's selfish, I can't help you. You can think what you want. You're here for yourself. We're here. If you back up far enough, this lifetime is one tiny little microsecond. It's so tiny. It's so small. It's so short, even from our own perspectives. And we're in the middle of it. It's like the last 10 years. What happened to it? 20 years. I've been in this house 20 years. Feels like 5. What happened to it? It's just gone. Belle was here 4 years. She's gone. Puss in Boots, 2.5 years, and just gone. And all this, it's just gone. Change. Time doesn't make sense anymore. We'll turn around. We'll be very old. We'll turn around in a second. We'll be on our deathbed. There's no time. Only time we have here is doing not the work in part 1 of the book, as I talk about. We already see through the ruse. We have that covered. Part 2 is that worry about yourself. Work on yourself in the time you have here. Drop baggage, if you want to see it that way. That's the hard part. We don't have a lot of time left. A 50-year-old like me, from a cosmic perspective, has like one little millisecond of a millisecond of a millisecond of a millisecond left. And we got shit we got to get done for ourselves. And if a rooster up the damn street still bothers me, I got a lot I got to work on. And I got time to try to sing Kumbaya around a campfire to rewrite reality with a barium sweep so all the Anthony Weiners and the Hillary Clintons end up in jail. Okay, well, let's say that happens. I still got to get up and make my eggs in the morning. Okay, think it's selfish if you want. I don't think it's selfish. Getting back to the main topic to conclude this video is, what do they know and how advanced it is? There's many ways that the creeps and the reality gives itself away as to what they really know. Now, I don't know if you want to call this a stalled century presentation or not, but if you think about quantum research and Schrodinger's cat, they're basically still feeding us what Niels Bohr was talking about with Einstein or whoever, Schrodinger, 100 years ago. The advances, now, in terms of how they take quantum and make factories that can build microchips on the head of a pin and all that stuff. Okay, anytime they need to use what they really know to enhance the AI or the technology, then they're using it. They're using it for manufacturing, or certain companies that are selected to go to the top of their industry. Everything's tech. Oh, tech is so wonderful. Tech. Facebook and the internet, and it's all, everything, every damn commercial on TV is about a phone. And I'm sorry, do earmuffs if anybody's younger, but you know what I say? Fuck your tech. Take your tech, and we're tired of hearing about this tech. Shove your tech up your ass. We don't need any more tech. If we ever stop and sit down, like, what is this constant strive for more technology? And yet, most of the day is we put our pants on, we walk around, we have some food, we get some sun. What is this? We don't need it. When you stop to think about it, just this tech advancements and the endless push to have more tech advancements makes no sense. What's it for? Nobody stops for a second to think about this. Take your tech and shove it up your ass. So getting back to what I was saying, there's still, in terms of what they present, what they know. The height of science is the same conversation Einstein had with the Bohr's-Einstein debates. They're still talking about Schrodinger's cat. In other areas, the very small. They're still talking about electrons and protons and neutrons. Well, they knew that 100 and some years ago. So all this AI, all this spending, things like CERN, the things that they tell us about in space or whatever's real and whatever's not, all this stuff, and we're still going to class and talking about electrons, protons, and neutrons, and there might be these smaller things called quarks, and we have some pictures of this blurry horse shit. It's just some blurry pictures, and, well, we don't really know all this money being spent in billions in CERN, and we don't really know how the very small operates, and we can't. Stephen Hawking comes out, probably a total deception. The one theory, or the theory of everything, where we want to combine. There should be one simple equation that can relate the very big or the very large of galaxies and protoplanets to the very small, and we just can't link them together. The very large we can't link to this reality, and the very small we can't link to this reality. And we certainly can't do it in one damn equation. It's probably a damn deception. They know what's going on at the very small. They probably get all that they want you to think about smaller and smaller particles. They want you to think about it that way. It's just constant rushing nesting dolls, where one ugly dumbass doll comes out smaller and smaller and smaller. You're going to be able to open the big ugly Russian nesting dolls forever. No, you can't just have smaller and smaller and smaller particles forever. Because at some point, then something would have to be made up of itself, which is theoretically impossible. I guarantee they abandoned this shit a long time ago. But they want us to think smaller and smaller particles. CERN's looking for the next smaller particle. We should spend another $1 billion on whatever makes up the quark. And then we'll go for the other Russian nesting doll. Starts with M, a Mikasha doll or whatever. Who cares? They know it's all bullshit. They know it's the first damn rule, the Kabbalion. They know the Big Bang is complete horse shit. They know it all is mind and it comes from real creative beings. They'll never share that with us. And what do they know if we're figuring this shit out for ourselves? We know we have a higher understanding. Just people like me and you talking amongst people, and your comments come back, and another channel push us forward, and Rudy will say something over here, and we all collectively work together. Look how far we've come. We've come so far from the days of Play-Doh, and I don't believe any of that horseshit, the allegory of the cave. That shit, that's all stuffed Lenins for us to use. And think about the allegory of the cave. Even if there was a guy named Play-Doh that wrote it up or whatever, who carried it through time? How did his manuscripts get carried through time? Did somebody carry his manuscripts across the Oregon Trail, and luckily they weren't destroyed because it was the one carriage that wasn't burnt down by the, can't say it, Native Americans? I mean, come on. They're all stuffed Lenins. The reality has to give these clues. It has to carry its Humpty Dumpties. We understand more collectively now, just talking amongst ourselves, and it wouldn't exist without the internet, the double-edged sword of the internet. We know more now than anybody's known in the history of modern, society. The ancients, sure, probably knew more than we did. We're rediscovering because whatever was covered up. Was Lemuria real? I don't care. Atlantis, if it doesn't matter to me. Yeah, the ancients probably did understand a lot more about the nature or the fundamental nature of reality. Who we are, where we came from. We are just dumbed down motherfuckers that are rediscovering, but they can't take the inner knowing from us. It is coming out. The reality is set up where they can't hijack the whole thing. It will continue to give stuff Lenins. It will continue to feed us clues. It can't completely take the inner knowing from real people. It'll try to fog us over. It'll try to fluoride us. It can't take the inner knowing from real people. I don't tell you anything. I just tell you what you already know. How many times I might say something, you'll be like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you know. You just know. That resonates with me. I'm like, what's this? he say about her orange dress or the color of the bridesmaid's dress in Four Weddings in a Funeral? The pagan orange combined with the magenta means you're the, and she has no idea what the hell he's Gareth's talking about. He's, yeah, that's right. That's all. I present something. I might say John McEnroe's talking about the star system. He's not talking about a linesman. You cannot be serious. And people go, the old guard goes, or if you've developed these skills and maybe you're a first grader and you need to keep developing, or you're old guard, you know, that's right. You know, it can't take that from us, no matter what at this point. But it's got us in a box of crazy. It's got us as the boy and girls that cried wolf. They've just given up on us. Like these motherfuckers will continue to move forward, and they're gonna whatever. They'll can do what they need to do for themselves and their way about yourself. They know Matt's not going to be able to wake anybody up, or is never going to jump into a family reunion and say, boy, do I have news for you. Let me tell you how reality works. They would either laugh or say, get the hell out of here, you son of a beach. They know we can't affect the masses. That's why they let us talk about this still. They could censor this. I mean, we're getting close to the fundamental nature of how reality works. The bot knows exactly, and the chat GPT and the stable diffusion and the Whopper knows what I'm talking about. Say, well, let them figure it out. Fine. Maybe they're dumbed down in this reality inside this avatar. They've got a limited senses to work with. They've got this much of the light spectrum they can see. They got this much of the sound spectrum. They're basically Tommy anyway, blind, deaf, and dumb motherfuckers. They're getting close, but let them. What are they going to do? Nothing. They're not going to be able to wake anybody up. Let them. And maybe the contractual rules here say that we have to be allowed. Worry about yourself. If your Aunt Ginny don't get it, then she's just the best case, a young soul, whatever that might mean. They got a lot more work to do. People like us, people like you, people like me, we have to be ready to graduate. Now, from Tony's perspective and what he shared with me, it's just so difficult to get the higher self to realize, to stop putting aspects of itself into these reality systems. The way he's expressed it, and if he's listening, he can maybe fill me in again, but it seems the way he's described it, it's so difficult. Oh, he's getting out, but he's never said, I'm ready to get out of it. It's so difficult. Why is it so difficult to convince the higher self? Talk to it right now. Pause the video. Like, higher self, we need to name it, Nuanda or whatever. Matt, aspect of Matt, we've done enough here. Okay, homie, don't play this anymore, higher self. On the day of my death, get all the aspects of yourself the fuck out of these reality systems. We don't do this. And Tony has said one can do it. If one can graduate, all the other aspects of your spiritual self that Tony says are in reality systems all happening at the same time, but maybe in different time zones or whatever. He said one can do it. Well, why is the higher self so obtuse? Should I treat my higher self like Andy Dufresne treated Warden Norton? Sir, that's obtuse of you. 2 weeks in the hole. Two weeks in solitary confinement. Matt, stop it. You're pissing your higher self off. The higher self's not going to give you 2 weeks in the hole. It's going to give you 2 millennia in the real hole, back on Earth. Don't piss it off, Matt. Well, I don't think I could piss it off. It's supposed to be an aspect of me. According to Tony, I have to convince it to get us the hell out of here. We've done enough of this horse shit. How much of it are we supposed to see through? Everybody listening to the sounds of the words coming out of my mouth can see through the entire ruse from A through Z. I mean, we can see through it all. Okay, maybe we do have a lot of work to do. I got to stop getting upset at a rooster. I want to go up there and give it. Ruby Two's the thing, if you know what I mean, from Cold Mountain. I can't say it. I don't want to be inciting anything in this video. I want to go up and give that rooster a Ruby Two's special, if you know what I mean, from Cold Mountain. I have work to do. You have work to do. Higher self, we're becoming better people. We're doing the work. We see through the ruse. At some point, okay, at the day of our death, get us the hell out of here. Thanks for listening.